The American Civil War, which began in 1861, was the result of decades of political, social, and economic tensions between the North and South. These tensions had been building since the nation's founding, but a series of key events in the decades leading up to the war pushed the country to the brink of conflict. The first major issue was slavery. When the United States was created in 1776, slavery was already entrenched, especially in the South, where the economy relied heavily on slave labor for crops like cotton and tobacco. In the North, however, slavery was gradually being abolished, and by the early 1800s, the two regions had developed vastly different economies and ways of life. By the 1820s and 1830s, debates over slavery became more heated, especially as the country expanded westward. The issue was whether new states and territories would permit slavery. In 1820, the Missouri Compromise temporarily settled the issue by admitting Missouri as a slave state and Maine as a free state, drawing a geographic line across the country, the 36 degrees 30 minutes parallel, to divide free and slave territories. But this was a fragile solution, and tensions only grew as the nation expanded. The next major flashpoint came in 1846, when the United States went to war with Mexico. The resulting Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848 added vast new territories to the U.S. in areas that would eventually become California, Arizona, New Mexico, and others. The question quickly arose, should slavery be allowed in these new territories? In 1849, California applied for statehood as a free state, upsetting the balance of power between free and slave states. In 1850, Congress passed the Compromise of 1850, which aimed to ease tensions. It allowed California to enter as a free state, but also included the controversial Fugitive Slave Act, which required citizens to help return runaway slaves. The compromise temporarily calmed the situation, but it did not resolve the deeper issues of slavery and state rights. By the mid-1850s, the conflict became even more intense with the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. This law allowed settlers in the Kansas and Nebraska territories to decide for themselves whether to permit slavery, effectively repealing the Missouri Compromise. What followed was a violent struggle known as Bleeding Kansas, as pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers clashed in the hopes of influencing the outcome. Meanwhile, the abolitionist movement was gaining strength in the North. In 1857, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down the Dred Scott decision, ruling that African Americans, whether free or enslaved, could not be citizens, and that Congress had no authority to ban slavery in the territories. This enraged many in the North, while solidifying the South's belief that slavery was protected by the Constitution. The election of 1860 marked the breaking point. Abraham Lincoln, the candidate of the newly formed Republican Party, which opposed the spread of slavery into the territories, won the presidency. Although Lincoln assured the South that he would not interfere with slavery where it already existed, his election was seen as a direct threat by many Southern states. In response, South Carolina seceded from the Union in December 1860, followed by several other Southern states in early 1861. The stage was set for war. As tensions escalated, Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter in South Carolina in April 1861, marking the beginning of the Civil War. The United States was now irrevocably divided, and the question of slavery would soon be at the heart of a bloody and destructive conflict that would last 4 years and change the nation forever.